Welcome back to my podcast, The 5 Minute Echo. A small note before we start today. This episode is slightly longer than usual and leans more on numbers than emotion. Not to prove a point, but to ground a quiet shift that's in motion around us. There's a quiet shift happening in Indian households right now. It's not loud, it's not controversial, but it is changing how an entire generation spends money. If you are between the ages of your mid 20s and early 30s, and you've been working for a few years now, chances are your parents don't really ask you for money every month. No fixed contribution, no household transfer. And that alone makes this generation very different from the one before. Earlier, for our parent generation, the first salary had a destination. It went home. Rent, groceries, school fees, family expenses. Dreams came later, if they came at all. But for today's working millennials and older Gen Z, something has changed. The house has stopped asking. When money isn't tied to household obligations, it starts flowing somewhere else. That's why premium smartphones matter in this story. Not just iPhones, but OnePlus 2. Because phones today aren't just gadgets. They're cameras, work tools, social lives, status symbols. In India, devices like iPhones and OnePlus phones sit at the intersection of aspiration, visibility, and choice. They are premium by design and they're chosen deliberately even when far cheaper alternatives exist. Industry survey shows that around 85% of iPhone users and nearly 70% of OnePlus users in India are millennials and Gen Z. These phones aren't just tools, they are markers of identity, lifestyle, and arrival. In 2024, Apple sold around 12 million iPhones in India, a record number in a price sensitive market. Here's the part that's telling. Roughly 45% of buyers are aged 25 to 34, and another 40% fall in the 18 to 24 bracket. So when you see a 1 lakh rupee smartphone in someone's hand, it's usually not a senior executive. It's a young working professional, not contributing to household expenses but spending on personal lifestyle. The spending doesn't stop at devices, it moves into experiences. In recent data, millennials and Gen Z together account for nearly 90% of all international trips taken from India. When you look closer, millennials lead this category. Industry report shows that Indian millennials spend over 6,000 US dollars a year on travel, significantly more than any other generation. Travel alone makes up nearly one third of their annual spending. This isn't occasional vacation money. Travel has become a core lifestyle expense. There's an interesting overlap here. In the premier episode of my podcast, we spoke about YOLO retirement, about older parents choosing to travel, live, and experience the world instead of saving everything for later. Now, we are seeing something new. Millennials booking trips not just forward but backward, traveling with their grandparents with the very generation that once funded their dreams. And it's not just travel. Live experiences at home are a big spend too. Industry survey shows over 70% of millennials and Gen Z in Tier 1 cities attended at least one ticketed live event last year. Concerts, festivals, large scale shows. Many now plan trips around these events, with some spending 50,000 rupees or more on a single concert led trip. Experiences, not just possessions, are becoming a core part of the millennial lifestyle spending. And the same shift shows up on the road as well. In 2024, India sold over 1.1 million premium motorcycles, priced about 2.5 lakh rupees. Industry data suggests that nearly 84% of these premium bike buyers were millennials and Gen Z. For many, these aren't utility purchases, they are lifestyle statements, a reward, a symbol of freedom. It's not just big ticket items. Millennials are also driving spending in everyday lifestyle categories. Retail data shows that apparel and food and beverage together account for over half of new retail demand in India. Dining out, fashion, footwear, grooming, small indulgences repeated often. These aren't one time purchases, they're habits. It's not all spending though. India also saw a massive surge in SIP mutual fund investments. Over 1.6 crore new SIP accounts were added in just one quarter of 2025. A significant share of those investors are under the age of 30. Industry data suggests that around one third of new mutual fund investors are Gen Z, And on some fintech platforms, nearly half are under the age of 30. So, this generation isn't just consuming, they are investing too. The average SIP amount in India today is around 3000 rupees per month. Even while spending on premium phones, travel, bikes, dining, and experiences, a large section of young Indians is committing to disciplined long term investing. Then there are those who take calculated risks their parents could never afford to take. Trading, equity markets, future and options. Between 2020 and 2024, India added over 12 crore new demat accounts. More than 60% of these belong to millennials and Gen Z. For some, it's speculation, for others, it's control. A belief that money should work harder because no one else is claiming it. Lifestyle grows outward, wealth grows quietly. Gen Z and younger millennials in India are redefining ambition. Nearly half of young workers no longer see traditional career climbing as the ultimate goal. They are prioritizing emotional stability, predictable hours, and mental health over promotions or big titles. Many are willing to accept lower pay for better work life balance, autonomy, meaningful work, time. The shift in ambition runs parallel to how money is being spent. Earlier generations spent first on obligation. This generation spends on itself first. Not because it's careless, but because obligation is no longer assigned the same way. So, the question isn't whether this is right or wrong. When no one asks you to contribute, what does money start meaning to you? And those choices are shaping the economy we are all stepping into. If this episode stayed with you, you can follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. It helps the podcast travel a little further. This is the 5 Minute Echo. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.